Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Nazrin Daniel and my other members are Umay, Imran and Izzat. We are from class S121H and today we are going to present about aerobic respiration and fermentation. So, for the aerobic respiration, what is the definition of aerobic respiration? Aerobic respiration is the process of complete oxidation of glucose in the presence of oxygen to produce carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So, for the chemical equation for aerobic respiration is C6H12O6 plus 6O2 produce 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus energy, which is ATP plus heat. So for the next fermentation, I will pass to the Izzat.
Fermentation is a metabolic process where food molecules such as glucose are broken down into an alcohol or an acid via the role of enzyme without the presence of oxygen. The equation for alcoholic fermentation is C6H12O6 or glucose broken down into carbon dioxide, ethanol and energy. Whereas for lactic acid fermentation, the equation is glucose broken down to lactate and energy. Next. Fermentation occurs when there is no enough oxygen in the air. It can be found in the cytoplasm, and it is the same as aerobic respiration, which both of them produce energy. Now, Imran.
So next, I will continue to explain our content. We have 5 different contents, which is content number 1, summary equation for cell respiration, which is will explain by Nas. Number 2, what are the stages of aerobic respiration, will be explained by Umar. Number 3, what are the major difference between aerobic respiration and fermentation, will be explained by me. Number 4, what is the significance of NAD plus in fermentation and cell respiration? Number 5, why do organisms undergo fermentation in the absence of energy, absence of oxygen, will be explained by Izzat. So for the first question, will be explained by Nas.
Right, thank you, Imran. So for a question for cell respiration is a glucose plus oxygen, and it will produce carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So for this reaction occur when there is glucose and oxygen react and produce carbon dioxide, water, and energy. We know that oxygen is gained from surroundings, but actually, where does glucose come from? It comes from food that we ate. From the equation, we can conclude that glucose is becomes oxidized and oxygen becomes reduced. It is because glucose loss of hydrogen while the oxygen gain of hydrogen. So for the next question, Umay.
Okay. Question number 2. What are the stages of aerobic respiration? There are 3 stages of aerobic respiration. The first one is glycolysis. It is the release of energy and pyruvic acid from the breakdown of glucose by enzymes. The second one is the Krebs cycle. It occurs in the mitochondria where oxygen is consumed and carbon dioxide and water are produced as waste products. ADP is transformed to energy-rich ATP during this process. The next one is electron transport chain and chemiosmosis. The electron transport chain is a collection of protein complexes that use redox processes to transmit electrons from electron donors to electron acceptor while also transferring protons across the membrane. Chemiosmosis is a passage of ions down an electrochemical gradient over a semi-permeable membrane-bound structure. The next question will be explained by Imran.
I will continue for the next question, which is what are the major difference between aerobic respiration and fermentation? So there are a few differences, which is aerobic respiration. Energy is derived from oxygen. It can be found in the bulk of cytoplasm and the mitochondria. For the fermentation, it happens when there is not enough oxygen in the air. Second, carbon dioxide and water are the end of the product. But for the fermentation, it can be found in cytoplasm. Ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide are the end of the products. Next, the respiratory substrate undergoes complete oxidation, while the fermentation, the respiratory substrate undergoes incomplete oxidation. During aerobic respiration, 38 ATP molecules are generated, while for the fermentation, there are just 2 ATP molecules are generated. For the next question, I will pass to Izzat.
So, what is the significance of NAD plus in fermentation and cell respiration? So, NAD plus or nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide is a coenzyme derived from vitamin B3 or niacin that works as an electron carrier during the fermentation and cellular respiration in order to make the process to occur. During cellular respiration, glucose will be oxidized to carbon dioxide and oxygen is reduced to water. The reduction of oxygen where it gains hydrogen atom that has electron travel with it. Electrons in hydrogen atom from organic compounds are not transferred directly to oxygen but are passed to an electron carrier, which is NAD+. NAD+ is reduced to NADH by gaining electron in the hydrogen atom. After that, NADH must release the electrons so that it can be deoxidized to NAD+ in order to work again as electron carrier. On the other hand, NAD plus in fermentation also works as electron carrier where it is reduced to NADH by gaining electron in hydrogen atom during glycolysis process in both alcohol and TLC fermentation. In alcohol fermentation, pyruvate will release CO2 and become acetaldehyde, which will be reduced by receiving electron from NADH and thus forming ethanol. While in lactic acid fermentation, pyruvate is reduced to NADH, forming lactate. Hence, in both reactions, NADH is still going to be deoxidized to NAD plus to act as electron carrier once again. Next. Why do organisms undergo fermentation in the absence of oxygen? When there is no oxygen, aerobic respiration will not occur. Therefore, there is no production of ATP to be provided to the organism. In that case, fermentation is important to maintain the production of ATP by glycolysis. In daily routine, fermentation is required to allow the production of energy without oxygen, which can be lead to the making of foods and beverages and allow humans to work for longer periods of time. That's all.
And for the conclusion, in our life, we know that the respiration is the most important thing. The advantages of aerobic respiration is it can produce energy. Why does energy important to our life? So first of all, it's for movement. In mammals, energy is required to tense muscles, but in plants, it is required for the transfer of chemicals through the phloem. And for the fermentation, it's more focused to the food. In fermentation process, we know that fermentation obliterates microorganisms and chemicals in food, and it's add beneficial bacteria to the foods. To add digestion, these bacteria generate new enzymes. With that bacteria, the food expiration dates are longer than usual. So from here, we know that aerobic respiration and fermentation are very useful towards our life. So that's all from us. Thank you.